Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 ways you can alter patterned paper for fun new looks. I'm going to be creating 5 mini slimline cards. The patterned paper I'm using is from the Not Too Shabby shop, and it is great paper for altering, but you can use any patterned paper that you have on hand. This is the 6x6 paper pad called Coffee and Treats. Some of the things I'm showing you may be sold out at the time of viewing, but again, use the things that you have with these techniques. So that was the Yum Yum stamp set, Drink the Coffee stamp set, and the I Heart Coffee stamp set. So I'm starting with this paper right here, and the first way we're going to alter is to splatter the paper. I'm going to be using watercolors, this set right here from Arteza, I believe, actually. I'm going to wet these brown colors here, and I'm going to use a couple different ones. You can see I have a very kind of flat-ended, scraggly brush. I am using a piece of window sheet and dragging the brush across the edge of that to get some really cool splatter on this paper. So we'll set that aside. I love the look of coffee that it gives. And technique number 2 is to stencil over your paper. So I'm taking this pink striped paper and a very swirly stencil, and I'm going to stencil over the top with some Glitz glitter gel. So that is clear gel that has glitter in it. So you're still going to be able to see through to the stripes, but then you'll also have this really fun glittery background. So when you're stenciling over, you can do inks, you can do pastes, whatever goes with that paper the best. So we're going to set that aside to dry, and we'll cut that up for a mini slimline card. Next, my third technique is to stamp on the paper. So I'm taking this donut and a little coffee cup from the Yum Yum stamp set and using Lawn Fawn's walnut ink, and I'm going to just stamp not really randomly actually. I'm going to stamp in between the polka dots, but you could just stamp randomly, incorporate whatever the pattern on the paper is with the images that you're stamping on them. So I have the donut and the coffee cup, and I'm just leaving open spaces so I can go back with the coffee cup. And the reason why I'm just stamping half the paper is because I'm making mini slimline cards. I am going to be cutting this in half at 3 inches. So I don't need to stamp the other side. Some of them I cut and then did the technique. Some I did the technique on the whole paper. Just really whatever works best for you. Then I'm taking the word sweet and some dough ink and stamping that in a few more spots on this paper to finish it off. Next, the fourth technique is to doodle on the paper. So I'm taking this black and white polka dot pattern and I photocopied it, not to use, but to practice before I committed some different ideas that I had. And I decided to doodle this particular flower right here, which is the flower that I doodle whenever I have a chance to doodle. Like I'm on the phone taking notes about an appointment or something. This is the flower that I doodle. I doodle it all the time, so I thought it would be perfect thing to put on this paper. So I'm just going in between all the polka dots and doodling that flower with a fine liner pen. You just want to be careful and make sure whatever pen you're using does not smear, because it's easy to drag your hand through what you've already drawn and smear something. So I really kind of watched for that and was careful of that, and you might just have to give it a little bit of time to dry. So now I'm going in between all the polka dots and putting some little dots, and I really feel when you're doing doodling, if it's the right paper, your doodle doesn't have to be perfect. They can be a little scratchy. I like that look. So there it is, all finished. Technique number 4, doodling on your paper. All right, for number 5, we're going to ink it. So I have Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to bring in and just go right over the top of this patterned paper. I'm going to have it be darker at the bottom and get lighter as it goes to the top. I just really felt like this was a good color for like a cup of tea. I really thought about using tea stain though, but for this paper, this is the color that worked best. So then I'm going to go ahead and splatter that or spray it with water to get some splatters, because I love that look on Distress Oxide. And I was just curious how it would look over patterned paper. So I loved it, and I thought it was a great look for this tea themed card. Next, I'm going to stamp out all the images that I will be coloring in. So I have some stamps from the Yum Yum stamp set. By the way, that stamp set also comes in a digital stamp set. So if it is sold out, you can order the digital version. You'll get it immediately, download it, print it out, use it that very second, which is one of my favorite things about digital stamps. I also use some images from the I Heart Coffee set, stamp them in black ink onto some Copic friendly paper, and then I can set to coloring these out. So I'm going to show you some of the coloring today. I'm using E53 right here on the coffee bag as my lightest color, and then I'm bringing E31 in as the darkest. But there's kind of a middle section where the word coffee is that has some lines. I thought I would just make that section a tiny bit darker just to give this some variation in color. So I'm using that E31 again as my lightest this time, and then coming in with E53 as my darkest. I really wanted this to have the kind of look or color of burlap. I love burlap coffee bags. I actually had a friend of mine got them for a project for her daughter's wedding, and then she gave me the leftover burlap, and I love it. I might have to feature it in a video coming up soon because I have some fun techniques to do with it. So now I'm coloring the little coffee mug here with RV14 as my darkest color and RV13 as my lightest. This is the pink color combination I will use throughout the images on this project. So I love pink and brown together. And sometimes I try to do something different, but pink and brown tends to pop out a lot in my creations. So I just went with it. I thought it was a good color choice for the cards and the papers that I was using today. So I'm using some cool grays to color out this mug right here with the heart on the front. I thought it was a good light color to throw in there. And then for this hamster, he's adorable. This is the set that you can order digitally as well, which is awesome because then you can resize it. But I also think in the digital stamp set, you can get this image where it's already colored. So think about that. Like if you're super busy and you need a card right away, you could print this out and cut it out and it's ready to go on a card with some pattern paper and you're done. Like that's really awesome, right? Yeah, I think it's a good idea. But then there's also ones that you could print out and color yourself because he's really cute. He's a really cute little hamster, little critter to have. And his hands are such that you can have him hold the different images in the stamp set. That's super cool. All right, so I'm just coloring him out with 3 different markers. E00 as my lightest, E11 is my mid-tone, and E13 is my darkest. So I really just go back and forth between those 3 colors until I get the blend that I like. And now for the muffin, I'm making it a chocolate chip muffin, and then I'm going to use the 2 pinks to do my stripes. So they're not blending with each other, but they're making this muffin paper look striped. And then I'm going to use my E11 marker over that E00 to add a little bit of dimension and interest to that muffin, like that. All right, so there's all the images and all the markers that I used, and I think they are super yummy. Before I cut them out, I'm going to add some white highlights with my gel pen, and then when I cut them out, I used my Cameo Silhouette. There is a pic scan mat that you can get. Take a picture of the images, upload it to your Silhouette, trace them, offset them, and cut them out. I have a few videos on this if you want. You can go to my channel and look at my playlist on the Silhouette, and you'll find some of those very easily. For my sentiments, I am stamping some on this dark brown cardstock with Versamark ink, and then I'll emboss them with white powder so they really pop off of that dark paper. I did 2 each of these sentiments, so I might have enough for all my cards. I wasn't exactly sure what sentiment I would use with each one, so just did a few, and then I can save any that's left over. I'm adhering that pink coffee cup to the coffee bag and then adding on the spoon, and once I have those glued together, I'll pop them up as if they're one image onto my background. I didn't press it down because I wanted to tuck this sentiment behind them. So I'll glue that in place, tucking it behind that coffee cup there. And there's my splattered card. I'm mounting that onto a 6x6 piece of paper that I scored at 3 inches to create a mini slimline card. To embellish it, I have these raw honey crystal gem stickers from Honeybee, and I got them for free with an order from the Not Too Shabby shop. They always have great deals like that at the Not Too Shabby shop. I love it. So for my stenciled card, I'm taking another of those embossed sentiments, "We go together like coffee and donuts," and sticking that right to the panel. A lot of the images on this card I adhered with some foam squares because I really like that adhesion over the top of something that has a textured or glittered background. For my hamster, I'm just taking my cutting blade and going around his hands so I can tuck the little coffee cups in there. I thought it would be really cute if he was holding 2 coffee cups, so it looked like he was bringing coffee to a friend. That's always fun to surprise somebody and bring them a cup of coffee, right? So he's going to hold those, or she. I did put the little bow on the head. I thought that was really cute. I love that addition that you can add that. And then I did color a donut for this, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to put it on right just on the card. So I did my gem stickers first, and then I decided, yeah, it definitely needs the donut, so I'm just going to stick it on there. And then I'll glue that down. I did trim this one to 2 3/4 by 5 3/4 so I could have a white border all the way around, and I like that look a lot. So there is card number 2 all finished, and then we'll move on to the card where I stamped the background. And for this one, I'm using this coffee cup that's a piece of ephemera that came from the May box of the month. If the ephemera or any of the things I use today is still available at the Not Too Shabby shop, I'll go ahead and link it down below. But if you're watching this after the month of May, they could be harder to get. But Not Too Shabby has a box every month that comes with papers. It comes with ephemera packs. It comes with 3 stamp sets. It's such a good value, and you can buy it each month or you can subscribe and get an even better savings. So I'll have the information linked for you below where you can go and check out the box of the month program. So I'm going to stick those onto my card and trim off the edge of the sentiment and then adhere that to my 6x6 card base. Now, why not combine some of the techniques together, right? I thought this needed a little splatter, and so I covered up my images and gave it a little really dark brown splatter, and I thought that just made the card. To embellish this one, I have some diamond stickles I'm putting right on the heart. I did actually end up smearing it because it wasn't dry and I stacked it up with the other cards, but I'll fix it. Now I'm coming in with my doodled background and going to stamp a sentiment from the Drink the Coffee stamp set. I'm stamping that with Versamark ink onto this bright pink cardstock. I'm going to emboss that with white powder as well and have a really fun, bold sentiment for my black and white background. So this says, "May your coffee kick in before reality does." I'll glue that onto my card panel after trimming it down so it wasn't so tall, and then I can just cut off any excess that hangs over the edge with my scissors. Then I'm going to add on this coffee cup right here. It's a little bigger than my card. It's going to hang off a little bit, so I decided I would trim it down because this is also one of those images from the ephemera pack. You can see the ephemera pack right there. I'm going to pop that up with foam squares, and I decided if you're going to doodle the paper, why not doodle the ephemera piece as well? So I added in those hearts, which is one of the things I practiced on my little photocopied piece. And then I have a piece of corrugated paper. I wanted to tie in that brown wrapper around the coffee cup, so I added a little strip of that to the top. And then of course it goes on to my 6x6 panel or card base and finishes out the card. So even though that piece hangs off, this still fits into an envelope. Now these envelopes are the size of like you would buy in the grocery store. Remember in the days when you would write a letter on a piece of notebook paper and fold it up and put it in an envelope? That's the envelope that fits a mini slimline card. Okay, so for my last card, I am stamping out another sentiment. This is from the Lazy Day kit from last month. I'm going to link that stamp set for you too because there were some super fun stamp sets from last month, and I thought this sentiment worked really well with today's card, and it says, "You deserve some me time." And then I'm going to take that and cut it into a shape that kind of looks like a tea bag shape. Do you think? I hope so. So now I'm putting on my images with some foam squares, the little muffin and teacup, and then I'm going to take a piece of twine so it kind of matches my card, the brown, and I'm going to staple that to the tag, giving it more of a look like a tea bag. And then I glued on the spoon. I wasn't sure if I was going to use it, but I really like my images to be in clusters of 3. And then I'm going to pop that up onto that ink blended background and have it just dangle there and wrap that twine around to the back so it looks like a tea bag. And then I'm again combining techniques because I'm going to doodle on some little tea bag tags on each of these little teacups. So it kind of shows you or tells you what that tag I made is supposed to look like, right? When you repeat that on the card. So I loved that. It worked really well, even over the ink that I already had blended. So I was happy about that. I was, you know, putting it on kind of last minute, so I was a little bit nervous about it. Next, I am putting fun foam on the back of my card because that twine is kind of thick. So I wanted to make sure that it was enough lift around it to compensate for the thickness of that twine. So there are all 5 of my cards. I loved playing with the pattern paper and kind of creating it to be unique and special instead of just using it the traditional way, which I think is some really good techniques that you can use maybe on pattern paper that you haven't used because it's not your favorite, or you can customize it to go with something that you are making. So I hope that you have fun with these techniques and try them out. I know I'll be using them more in the future. It was really fun to use my imagination to see what I could think of for 5 techniques to alter pattern paper. So I thank you so much for stopping by and watching today's video and just having fun with me creating in my stamp room. I hope you have a fabulous day and happy stamping. Bye.